Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, once again, we just want to apologize for starting a little bit behind the schedule. Now that we have the chairman of today's occasion, shall we all sing the national anthem?
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. The tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigeria's own and proud to serve a sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace all battle honored, and this we count as day. To hand unto our children a banner without stain. O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build our nation where no man is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty Nigeria may be blessed.
Yeah, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellencies, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Alhaji Kashim Shettima, GCFR, who is the chairman of today's occasion, the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, distinguished state governors here present, including Ogun State Governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, Oyo State Governor, Mr. Seyi Makinde, and the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Our keynote speaker, Dr. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. Special guest, Her Excellency Mrs. Olu Folake Abdurazak, First Lady, Kwara State. Our panelists, including former Deputy Governor of Ekiti State, Senator Abiodun Olujimi, and former First Lady of Ekiti State, Honorable Erelu BC Fayemi, Professor Fumi Malam, Ms. Ada Osagwe, our moderators, Professor Oyelaro Oyeyinka and Professor Jumoke Yakub Aliso, Your Royal Highnesses, Captains of Industries, our distinguished guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to welcome you to this momentous occasion as we gather to reflect on the transformative power of women in shaping our society. Today, we embark on a journey to explore the critical role women play in building a viable society, even in the most challenging of times. This conversation is not only timely, but also a fitting tribute to the enduring legacy of a woman who embodied the spirit of resilience, determination, and compassion, the late Chief Mrs. Hannah Idowu Awolowo, whose posthumous birthday, 109th birthday, coincides with today's event. A pioneer, a trailblazer, and champion of women's empowerment, HID Awolowo's remarkable life achievements continue to inspire generations. My name is Ademola Adeoye of the NTA. It is indeed a pleasure to welcome you all once again to this program. This evening, I have the privilege of introducing One of our hosts, Folusho Olaniyan, OON. Folusho Olaniyan currently serves as an independent non-executive director of Oodua Investment Company Limited, a leading investment conglomerate in Nigeria. Folusho is the current chairman of Sotri International Company, a leading agro-processing company in Oyo State, Nigeria. Folusho is a member of the Governing Council of Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria, the Tobacco Nigeria Foundation, and a member of the Governing Council of Ekiti State University. Folusho began a career in Liberties Nigeria PLC in 1988 and served in the food and retail divisions for 18 years. She was appointed Managing Director, CEO, UTC Nigeria PLC in 2007, where she served till 2010 and resigned to become an agri-business consultant. She served on the Advisory Council of Basics, an economic program funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, headquartered at IITA Ibadan, Nigeria. She's also served as consultant to the World Economic Forum and United States Trade and Development Agency, USTDA. Folusho is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Directors, Nigeria, and a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, UK. She is an alumnus of Harvard Business School Executive Education and was awarded the Harvard Business School Corporate Director Certificate in 2024. In recognition of her contribution to the Nigerian food industry, she was awarded Nigerian National Honors Officer of the Order of the Niger OON in September 2014 by the then President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor, my pleasure to introduce Folusho Olaniyan, OON.
Your Excellencies, distinguished participants, as we embark on today's insightful discussions at the HID Awolowo Foundation webinar on the role of women in building a viable society in challenging times in Nigeria, it's my pleasure to introduce the moderators who will guide us through this important conversation. Please join me in welcoming our esteemed moderators. Professor Banji Oyelaran Oyeyinka, a development economist, is a global thought leader and currently the Senior Special Advisor on Industrialization to the President of the African Development Bank, AFDB. He is a member of the Advisory Council on Industrialization of the African Continental Free Trade Area and a winner of the National Productivity Order of Merit. He served within the United Nations system for 20 years, including as Director, UN Habitat, Senior Economic Advisor, UN Center on Trade and Development, Geneva, and Professorial Fellow, United Nations University Maastricht. He has earned global acclaim for his pioneering work in the field of industrialization as the first Nigerian professor in the field of development economics and industrial policy. He has published over 20 books in the field of development economics. Professor Oyelaran Oyeyinka holds a Bachelor of Science, First Class Honors in Chemical Engineering from the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University. He holds a Master's in Chemical Engineering from University of Toronto, Canada, and Doctor of Philosophy, DPhil, in Development Economics, University of Sussex, United Kingdom. He is a Fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Engineering and Fellow Nigerian Academy of Chemical Engineering. Our second moderator is Dr. Olajumoke Yahu Haliso. She is an Associate Professor of African and African American Studies at Brandeis University, Massachusetts, United States. She was previously professor of political science and international relations and the head of the Department of Political Science, Dean of the School of Social Sciences at Babcock University. She's currently Vice President of the International Studies Association, ISA. Dr. Yahoub Haliso earned her PhD in Political Science from the University of Ibadan. She has published 14 books and is lead editor of the 3-volume Palgrave Handbook of African Women's Studies. Dr. Yahoub Haliso has held academic positions at institutions in Africa, Europe, and the United States. Dr. Yahoub Haliso has served as a member of the Obafemi Awolowo Foundation for many years and believes in the time-honored values of Chief Obafemi Awolowo and its important role in moving Nigeria forward. Join me in welcoming our two moderators who will take us forward in this journey of reflection and action. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Felicia. It's my honor to welcome the Excellency Vice President of Nigeria and all the distinguished guests, our governors here today. My duty next is to introduce the convener, Ambassador Dr. Olatokunbo Awolowo Dosunmu, who is the founding member and executive director of the Obafemi Awolowo Foundation, in which role she has for over 3 decades curated national international conferences, bringing together leading experts and stakeholders on key matters of importance to Nigeria and the African continent. Dr. Dosunmu is the convener of the HID Awolowo Foundation, an institution she founded as a subsidiary of the Obafemi Awolowo Foundation in 2016. She is Nigeria's former ambassador to the Netherlands. She's an occupational health physician. She's a graduate of the University of Bristol and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, University of London, where she completed her postgraduate degree in 1979. Ambassador Awolowo Dosunmu is the chairperson of African Newspapers of Nigeria PLC, publishers of the Tribune titles, which turned 75 years on November 16 this year, and is the oldest surviving newspaper in Nigeria. We need to congratulate Tribune for this amazing milestone. She is the chairman of the Advisory Council of Odua's Investment Foundation, the philanthropic arm of Odua Investment Company, a conglomerate jointly owned by the 6 southwestern states of Nigeria. Ambassador Dosunmu is a recipient of many chieftaincy titles, including Yeye Onikudo of Ile-Ife, Yeye Oba Liyagu Akaribo of Remo Kingdom. Since her retirement from partisan politics in 1991, she has continued to play an important role as a public intellectual and has focused her energies on sustaining multidimensional legacies of her parents, the illustrious Chief Obafemi Awolowo, SAN, GCFR, and Yeye Odua, HID Awolowo, CON. I hereby call on Chief Awolowo to deliver her message.
Thank you very much, Professor Oyeyinka. Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Chairman of this occasion, I say a special welcome to you because today is the second Awolowo Legacy Institution that you are chairing an event for. The first one was on March 6 this year when you chaired the Obafemi Awolowo Prize for Leadership on behalf of the President on that day. So you are most welcome to this second event this year. I welcome all our excellencies, our distinguished speakers, particularly our keynote speaker, and all excellencies and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Permit me not to go through all the protocols because time is of the essence. It is with immense pleasure and gratitude that I welcome you all to this timely and important discussion hosted by the HID Awolowo Foundation. Today's webinar, centered on the theme, Building a Viable Society in Challenging Times, the Critical Role of Women, is both a call to action and a celebration of the indispensable role women play in shaping societies, especially in times of uncertainty and transformation. As we gather virtually, permit me first of all to honor the legacy of Yeye Oodua, HID Awolowo, CON, whose resilience and resolute commitment to her husband's vision continue to inspire generations. Her life exemplified the transformative power of women as builders of families, communities, and nations, even in the face of daunting challenges. Permit me to also acknowledge the fact that her legacy is integral to that of her husband, Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Indeed, theirs was an exemplary partnership in which Papa was the visionary and leader. His vision required a solid foundation to thrive, and that is where Mama Awolowo's strength, loyalty, and dynamism came into play. Charged with managing the home front, she went far beyond this role, becoming a driving force in her own right. Mama was a woman of remarkable entrepreneurship and resilience, who not only supported her husband's vision, but also stepped into the arena when times demanded it. She demonstrated an ability to adapt, lead, and make critical decisions, ensuring that the family's mission and the legacy they were building stayed on course. In their partnership, we find lessons for our times. They teach us that challenges are not barriers, but opportunities to rise, innovate, and persevere. As custodians of their legacy, we bear the responsibility to share these timeless lessons. We must ensure that the world knows of their sacrifices, their values, and the enduring impact of their work. In doing so, we preserve their memory and offer guidance to others searching for answers in their own challenging times. Papa and Mama Awolowo were giants in every sense of the word. Giants of intellect, giants of integrity, giants of service, and giants of sacrifice. Their lives were a testament to the power of purposeful living. They left us a blueprint for leadership and a legacy of hope. It is therefore with immense pride and, I hasten to add, humility that I speak before you today, reflecting on the legacy of these two extraordinary individuals. To be their offspring is not just a privilege, it is a profound responsibility. Their legacy is not meant to be confined to history books or family stories. It is a legacy that demands to be shared, understood, and applied in Nigeria and beyond. Their ideals of visionary leadership, equality, and the pursuit of a better society are universal truths that resonate far beyond our borders. We are tasked with carrying forth the torch they lit, ensuring that it burns brightly for generations to come. This is the logic behind the decision to institutionalize their legacy through the Obafemi Awolowo Foundation and the HID Awolowo Foundation in order to, among other reasons, provide avenues for continuous dialogue on the great issues of the day, as well as create a sustainable platform for intellectual growth and societal transformation. As we do this, let us also remember that we too have the power to be giants in our own right. By upholding their values, by daring to dream and work tirelessly for the betterment of society, we honor their legacy and ensure that their vision continues to shape the Nigeria and the world of their dreams. In times like these, when uncertainty clouds our path and the challenges before us seem daunting, it is essential to reflect on the example of two individuals who not only lived through challenging times, but also managed to transform those times into opportunities for growth, resilience, and progress. The challenges facing our societies today, be they economic instability, insecurity, social inequality, and global crises, demand innovative solutions and inclusive approaches. Women, as agents of change, bring unique perspectives, compassion, and determination to the process of addressing these issues. Women's contributions in leadership, education, entrepreneurship, healthcare, and governance are essential to creating a more equitable and sustainable world. Today, we have brought together a highly distinguished panel of speakers, ably led by no less a personage than Her Excellency Dr. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations and Chair of the United Nations Sustainable Development Group, supported by erudite scholars and experts representing diverse fields and experiences to engage in this important dialogue. Our aim is not just to discuss the critical role of women, but also to identify actionable strategies that empower women to lead and contribute effectively to societal transformation. We are also fortunate to have in our midst functionaries of state at the highest levels to listen and contribute to the dialogue. We eagerly anticipate your insights into the theme of this webinar, and we are convinced that this meeting of minds will yield significant results. We thank you all most sincerely for honoring us with your distinguished presence. As we delve into these discussions, I urge each of us to reflect on how we can, collectively and individually, support the advancement of women and amplify their voices in every sphere of life. In this regard, as the year 2025 marks the 30th anniversary of the 4th World Conference on Women held in Beijing in 1995, a landmark event that laid the foundation for a global agenda for advancing gender equality, the HID Awolowo Foundation plans to commemorate Beijing Plus 30 as it is being tagged as part of our events calendar for the year 2025. I cannot end these remarks without expressing my profound appreciation to the Chairman, Senator Daisy Danjuma, and all the members of the Advisory Council of the HID Awolowo Foundation. Their names, I hope, appear on your screens right now. For the sake of saving time, I don't want to read the names out one by one, but you can read the names on the screen. I thank them for their dedication and unflagging support for the advancement of the Foundation's mission. They have deployed their time, talent, intellect, networks, and resources for the benefit of the Foundation. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, imagine, if you will, that they are all now rising to take a bow. I therefore invite you to honor them with a resounding virtual applause. Thank you. Their contributions have been pivotal to ensuring that initiatives like this webinar continue to inspire and empower society. My sincerest appreciation to them all. Sadly, we lost a valued member, Chief Tunji Ayolaja, SAN, a couple of years ago. Please join me to pray for the continued peaceful repose of his great soul. Amen. In closing, Your Excellencies, Royal Fathers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I once again welcome you most heartily to this webinar and wish you a rewarding time with us this evening. I thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. The next item on the agenda is the short video on Papa and Mama titled An Exemplary Partnership, Mutually Empowering.
We will stand together, even through the darkest hour, when the night seems never ending. We know there will be a dawn for us. When the world seems broken like the heart within us, destiny will guide us, and we'll dare to raise eyes to heaven. What will light our way? We shall win the day. We shall win the day. When sudden glorious, we will take
His Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure at this time and great honor to introduce for her address the chairman, permit me to say chairperson of the HID Awolowo Foundation, the distinguished Senator Daisy Danjuma. Distinguished Senator Daisy Danjuma was born on the 6th of August 1952 into the esteemed Ehanire lineage of Benin City. She graduated from Ahmadu Bello University in 1976, was called to the Nigerian Bar in 1977, and began her career as a state counsel in the Lagos State Ministry of Justice. Senator Daisy Danjuma went on to become company secretary and legal advisor to the Nigerian Television Authority in a career which spanned about 10 years. Her professional accolades include being an esteemed alumnus of the Lagos Business School, a member of the International Bar Association, a member of the Nigerian Bar Association, fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Management, and a member of the International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA. Her contributions in the realm of public service are equally noteworthy. She served as Senator of the Federal Republic between 2003 and 2007. With a fervent focus on uplifting women and youth, Senator Daisy Danjuma actively participated in various prominent committees, including the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, as well as being chairman, Women and Child Rights Committee of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS Parliament. She was also the chairman, Senate Committee on Women Affairs and Youth Development. She was member of Senate Committees on Health, Education, Finance, and Land Transport. Throughout her tenure, she championed legislation in support of women and youths with particular interest in reproductive health, education, preventing violence against women, and female genital mutilation. She is the chairman board of trustee of the HID Awolowo Foundation, member board of trustee of Women at Risk International Foundation. Senator Daisy Danjuma's dedication to philanthropy radiates throughout her sustained support of various charitable initiatives. In recognition of her sterling achievements and contributions to the legal profession, to governance, and to societal development, Senator Daisy Danjuma has been awarded honorary doctorate degrees by the University of Benin, the University of Ibadan, my alma mater, and the Redeemers University. Today, as we celebrate the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, today as we commemorate the legacy of Chief HID Awolowo, we are pleased and indeed very much enthused to welcome Senator Daisy Danjuma to give her chairperson's remarks.
I would like to start on existing protocol. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Vice President of Nigeria and Dr. Amina Mohammed as well. It is with great pleasure and profound honor that I welcome you all to this important webinar organized by the HID Awolowo Foundation. Today's theme, Building a Viable Society in Challenging Times, the critical role
of women could not be more timely or relevant as our nation continues to navigate complex challenges on multiple fronts. The HID Awolowo Foundation was established to preserve and promote the enduring legacy of our matriarch, Chief Dr. Anna Idowu Didiolu Awolowo. Mama's life and work reminds us that women possess not only the strength but also the wisdom, resilience, and innovation to shape a better society, even in the most trying circumstances, which she was famously associated, having been described by her husband as the jewel of inestimable value. Today, as we gather virtually, we are reminded that the challenges we face, from economic instability to social inequality, cannot be addressed without the active participation, leadership, and vision of women. Women are the backbone of families, communities, nations, and the role is indispensable in fostering peace, progress, and sustainable development. Like you know, I chaired ECOWAS Parliament Women and Child Rights. And I do know that in the year 2000, a group was formed called the Mano River Women Peace Network under the auspices of the ECOWAS, and their mission was to advocate for and promote peace at all decision-making levels. The involvement of women and youth in the prevention, management, and resolution of conflicts in the Mano River region of Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone was very important then. Like we all know, all those areas had crisis. It served, the Mano River Women Unit served as a catalyst for sustainable peace, human security and justice by ensuring gender-responsive policies and building women, girls' capacity for social, economic, political empowerment and human development for all. This webinar brings together His Excellency the Vice President of Nigeria, Senator Shetima, GCON, Her Excellency Dr. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, state governors, first ladies, thought leaders, policy makers, and advocates to explore practical strategies for empowering women to lead the change in building a more viable and inclusive Nigeria. I am confident that in building a more viable and inclusive Nigeria, it will be important that the role of women should not be ignored. On behalf of the HID Awolowo Foundation, I thank you all for your presence, commitment, and contribution to this vital conversation. Together, let us chart a path towards a society where the potentials of women is fully realized, utilized, and celebrated for a better future for our country. I would like to thank you all for finding the time this evening, well, depending on your time zone, to join us for this very important occasion to celebrate Mama. And I'd like to also let you know that this time next year will be 110 years of Mama's life, and we would like to celebrate her by having a physical meeting. Today is a virtual one, but next year I'm inviting you. So I'm giving you 1 year notice. Please, so be with us next year at the same time. Thank you very much. Please have a very fruitful deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the HID Awolowo Foundation. It is my extreme pleasure to introduce a man of passion, very passionate of our country, a man known to everyone on this platform, the 15th Vice President and still the current Vice President of Nigeria, our highly respected Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON. I hereby call upon him to give his remarks. Vice President, sir.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to make a special recognition. There are so many. The creme de la creme of the Nigerian society are represented here. But I want to make special recognition of the DSG, Amina Mohammed, my sister, my friend, Senator Daisy Danjuma, Mrs. Dr. Olatokunbo Awolo Dosumu, and of course, my friend, Her Excellency Erelu BC Hayemi, and my colleague Senator Abiodun Olujimi. And of course, one of the moderators is my very good friend, Professor Elaran. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, women have always been a source of balance in every society. Every nation's treatment of women therefore serves as the ultimate marker of its civilization. Across history, societies that recognize the value of women and invested in their advancement flourish, while those that failed to do so stagnated. We are here today because we cannot afford to ignore this reality. We cannot claim to have evolved as a nation unless we recommit ourselves to creating a society that offers women unconditional dignity and opportunity. We are honored to celebrate not only the legacy of Chief Hannah Idoudi Diolo, in whose memory this foundation was established, but also the many women who continue to push our nation towards balance and equity. Mrs. Awolo was a critical pillar in the formation of modern Nigeria, a matriarch like no other. She devoted her life to advancing the place of women and influencing policies that favored their rights and opportunities. She stood by her husband, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, in both tumult and peace. And that courage made a difference in his journey to adopt revolutionary policies, including free education in the all-Western region. This is what an empowered woman can achieve, whether in her domestic life or as a public office holder. She was a fortress for marginalized women, inspiring generations to step into spaces where their voices were often absent. This provides context for Chief Awolowo's praise of her as his jewel of inestimable value. Globally, much has happened since Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton campaigned for women's suffrage and equality in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Their struggles in the United States set in motion a global clamor for women's political rights, which gained momentum on our shores through the courageous activism of pioneers like Mrs. Pumila Ransom Kuti and Hajia Gambo Sawaba. These cultural mavericks spearheaded the fight for justice, equality, and recognition in politically hostile times, compelling our society to address the structural inequalities holding women back. Thanks to their efforts, the conversation has expanded beyond suffrage to include workplace equality, reproductive rights, and the fight against domestic violence. These trailblazers also compel us to confront the limitations placed on women and to champion diversity and individualism in the discourse on women's rights, recognizing that each nation's challenges differ. Today, technology has given women unprecedented platforms to amplify their voices and sustain their struggles. from social media movements against gender-based violence to campaigns advocating for education and economic inclusion. Nigerian women have harnessed digital tools to drive change. It is no coincidence that this momentum contributed to the adoption of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act in 2015, a landmark piece of legislation that stands as a testament to the power of women-led advocacy. Beyond legislation, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our responsibility as policymakers is to ensure that women are not only represented in our political and social spaces, but also empowered to occupy leadership positions where they can influence and make decisions. His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, embodies this commitment. This explains the representation women in the government, raised by one of Nigeria's formidable women rights champions, Alhaji Abibatu Makari. President Tinubu stands first-hand the transformative power of women in leadership. Alhaji Mogaji's legal battle for personal liberty set a precedent in our constitutional history, reminding us that women's rights are human rights and must never be negotiable. We are fortunate to have role models of historical significance and present relevance in Nigeria. These icons, from HID Awolowo to contemporary women breaking barriers, some of them prominent on these platforms, provide young girls with relatable figures around whom they can build their dreams. Their stories are not magic. They are the result of a society that offers women access to education, opportunity, and equality. Education in particular remains the most powerful tool for nurturing the potential of our girls. It is the foundation upon which their dreams can take root, even in the most challenging times. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the task ahead of us remains urgent. More than ever before, we are compelled to reverse the uncertainties that threaten to deepen inequalities in our nation. We must resist complacency. Rome was not destroyed by outside invaders. Rome was destroyed by the complacency of the Romans. We are working to create an environment where women are not just supported but celebrated, where their aspirations are not confined by societal expectations but unleashed to redefine those expectations. The nation we must build is where no girl is denied the chance to learn, where no woman is denied the opportunity to lead, and no mother is denied the dignity of safety and respect. We can achieve this unless we champion policies that protect the interests and dignity of women and ensure their safety from all forms of violence. We must embrace the wisdom of women who have led us from the boardrooms to the palms, from the classrooms to the legislative chambers. Amina Mohammed, Daisy Danjuma, Erelu Payemi, Senator Olujimi, Dr. Awolowo Dosunmu, and so many of the women on this platform are exemplars of women who have elected to fight for women's rights and to be exemplars, to be worthy of emulation by our daughters and the upcoming generations of Nigerian women. I urge you, I beseech thee, I call on you, let us coalesce into a single force. Let's harness our resources. A society is as good as the way it treats its women. We have to educate our women. We have to educate our daughters. We have to empower them to be worthy ambassadors. Every onlooker, according to HS, according to Franz Fanon, is either a coward or a traitor. As we honor the legacy of Chief H.I.D. Awolowo and reflect on the place and future of women, we must draw inspiration from the aspirations of women who craft a future that serves all. In Nigeria, where women are not just participants, but architects of a viable, equitable, and thriving society. Thank you, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you very much. We want to extend our monumental thanks to His Excellency, our esteemed Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON, for such inspiring words. We have on the screen the plaque that we will be sending to His Excellency and to every other speaker at today's event right after the program. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your presence here. At the same time, let me quickly remind us in the audience that we welcome your questions and comments and any requests for the communique. Please send just a quick email to the address on your screen. Thank you very much. At this time, we will take our keynote address, and it's my singular honor to invite to speak Her Excellency Dr. Amina Mohammed, the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations and Chair of the United Nations Sustainable Development Group. Prior to her appointment, Dr. Mohammed served as Minister of Environment for the Federal Republic of Nigeria. She first joined the United Nations in 2012 and went on to be Special Advisor to the former Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon. And she led the process that resulted in what we call the Sustainable Development Goals today, around Agenda 2030 for Development. We are so proud of Dr. Mohammed. She has served our nation greatly too, has been advisor to 4 successive Nigerian presidents on poverty, public sector reform, and sustainable development, and been conferred several honorary doctorates. Also has served as an adjunct professor on international development. The recipient of various global awards, Dr. Amina Mohammed has served on numerous international advisory boards. Today, the United Nations is leading the world in kicking off 16 days of activism against violence against women. So it is very fitting that we have with us one of Nigeria's best ambassadors, not just for women's issues, but for development overall. I welcome, on behalf of the conveners of this event, Her Excellency Dr. Amina J. Mohammed, to give the keynote address.
Thank you very much, my sister. His Excellency Senator Kashim Shettima, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Her Excellency Senator Daisy Anjuma, the Chair of the HID Awolowo Foundation, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, since it's a Women's Day, let me just claim my GCON for the Nigerian women. Because when Ngozi and I got this, I have to say it was such a privilege and an honor, but it is for the Nigerian women. And secondly, let me thank our first 2 women speakers who have really advocated and shown through example how important women's leadership is, and we stand on your shoulders. But to His Excellency Senator Kashim Shettima has always been one we have admired as he fights and he speaks to the rights of women in our country and everywhere that we see him speak. So we continue to thank him on behalf of all the men and the boys in Nigeria that should follow him in his advocacy for our rights and our aspirations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and the many friends that I have seen online, my heartfelt thanks go to Ambassador Awolowo Dosunmu and the HID Awolowo Foundation for this kind invitation. It is really an honor to join you at this important occasion as we celebrate the life and the legacy of Yeye Odua HID Awolowo on what would have been her 109th birthday. Excellency, today's is a moment to celebrate the life, contributions, and the legacy of Yeye Odua, a remarkable leader whose grace, her resilience, and her vision remain an inspiration to us all. It is a moment to salute Nigeria's progress over the last century. But guided by Yeye Odua's example of clear-eyed action, today must also be a moment to take a sober reflection of the challenges that are still with us. Today also marks, as we just heard, the 25th anniversary of the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and the start of the 16 days of activism against sexual and gender-based violence. A stark reminder that we are still continuing to fail half of the global's population in a number of ways. Globally, we are witnessing not only stagnation, but reversals in the hard-won progress on women's rights. Conflicts, economic downturns, and rising inequality are all making matters very much worse. In Nigeria, as in many parts of the world, our challenges remain significant. 65% of women live below the poverty line. We rank 125th on the Global Gender Gap Index. Female legislators hold seats in only 13 out of the 36 state houses of assembly, an important step, but still a far cry from the full representation women deserve. These are more than statistics. They reflect the systemic barriers of discrimination, violence, and limited opportunities that hold back the potential of our women and young girls. At the same time, I believe that the key to addressing these challenges can be found in the inspiring example and the legacy that Yeye Odua HID Awolowo left for us. Her unique balance of grace and grit and her commitment to hard work and public service exemplify the transformative power of women. Her life was one of profound impact, one that transcended titles and accolades. She was a woman who understood that leadership is not defined by one's position, but by one's purpose in life. She stood tall beside Chief Obafemi Awolowo, not as a shadow, but as an equal and strategic partner in the fight for social justice and equity in Nigeria, a division of labor in a partnership that lasted a lifetime. Together they envisioned a future of hope, equality, and opportunity, a vision that Yeye Odua carried on even after his passing. Excellencies, friends, Yeye Odua was also a trailblazer in business, establishing the Didi Olowu stores, one of the first Nigerian-owned import and export enterprises. She took every opportunity to showcase the power of women in economic development, mentoring and creating new opportunities for a generation of women. She also supported grassroots women's groups, market associations, community organizations. Every chapter of her remarkable story shares a common thread. Women are not only caregivers. Women are necessary and powerful architects of societal progress. And we can find similar power and inspiration in the stories of other Nigerian women, from Margaret Ekpo to Fumilayo Ransome-Kuti to Hajia Gambo-Sawaba and Hajia Lelo Dogonyaro. Of course, the many women that we see in this room today. It is also a stark reminder that no country can ever fly, no bird ever flies on one wing, so countries will not rise to their aspirations unless we fly on two wings, and after all, the eagle is our symbol. But all these women were warriors, builders, decision makers, and trailblazers. They remind us that change is possible for those willing to put their shoulders to the wheel of progress. All of you are part of this great effort. Let us dignify their leadership with our actions, today and every day after. Let me add to this illustrious panels to come the actions I believe we need in 4 key areas. First, I think that we need leadership and representation of women. I urge you to advocate for targeted and intentional measures to ensure that women's participation at every decision-making table, from the halls of government to the boardrooms of business, happen today and every day after. Second, we need partnerships for change. Governments, parliamentarians, civil society organizations, religious leaders, and international organizations really must work as one to drive systemic change. Not ad hoc band-aids, but systemic change that will be sustainable. And this includes the United Nations. I encourage all of us to reach out to our UN country teams and our resident coordinators here in Nigeria to help us to continue accelerating action towards gender equality, the SDG Goal 5, that means so much not just as a goal in itself, but across all the other 16 goals that we have to frame sustainable development. Third, we need to end the scourge of gender-based violence once and for all. It's time to ensure that protecting women and girls from violence and exploitation is embedded across not just our budgets and investments, but also our plans and policies, and not just as a box to tick or a nice to have, but as an absolute priority essential to progress. And while we are making the laws, Let us not just feel that it's okay for us to save a woman from violence in the home only to put her in a safe house outside of her home. Let us make sure that the laws actually take the perpetrator of the violence out of the home and leave the woman in her safe house, which is her home with her children and her family. And fourth, we need men, all men, to stand with us as allies. The Vice President is an example to all the men in Nigeria and across Africa. We will never achieve true gender equality and fairness, equity and justice for all, without all people, regardless of their gender, standing as one. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, supporting women is not just the right thing to do, it's the right thing to do. Societies cannot achieve the just and equal society envisioned and exemplified by the HID Awolowo by leaving 1/2 of the world's population behind. Let's follow her example. Let's work to unlock the potential of women, all women, and make real Yeye Odua's HID Awolowo's inspiring and timeless vision. I wish all of us today that we take the outcomes from this very, very important gathering into our work, and our work in every domain matters, be it in the United Nations, but also in our markets, in our lives, entrepreneurial or otherwise, in government, at whatever level we find ourselves, from local to state to federal to the region, but also in our writings, in our voices that must amplify all of those rights that need to be attained, the potentials of our country, the potentials of our women, the potentials of Africa that contributes to the world so much. So thank you so much for having me, and I look very much forward to listening to the rest of this day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency Amina Mohammed, a very passionate advocate for women. I know it firsthand, her commitment to women representation as a former member, senior officer of the United Nations. We thank you for the speech, and you will be receiving your plaque. We can't thank you enough for making the time to come. I know how precious your time is in that office. Before we move forward, I also want to make an announcement for everyone to send whoever has questions or comments and requests for stuff to be put into the communique. Kindly share on the email that we displayed earlier. You see it on the screen here. I also want to recognize the presence of the First Lady of Kwara State, Excellency Ambassador Professor Mrs. Olu Folake Abrazak, Professor Toyin Falola, H.E. Sheyi Makinde, who will be making a good message later on, Dr. Mrs. Adenike Akonde, OON, Otumba Bimbo Ashiru, Chairman of Dua Investment, Mr. Steve Oronsaye of the famous Oronsaye report, and also Honorable Abike Dabiri, who is the chair of the Diaspora Commission, which will be announcing more names as we go along. We also have H.E. Noemos Salako Oyedele, the Deputy Governor of State. Our next item on this program is a short panel, and each of the panel members will be speaking for just 5 minutes. And I will introduce the first panelist, H.E. Erelu Bisi Fayemi, who have been introduced somehow earlier. She's a gender and development specialist, policy advocate, leadership coach, philanthropist, and writer. She has be an MA in history. There are so many groups and made a lot of impact. As the first lady of Ekiti State, she leveraged her position to promote and protect the rights of women. She was chair of Nigeria's Governor Spouses and also the member of the First Ladies Against Cancer. I hereby call on the review.
Good evening, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The Vice President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima, and the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Her Excellency Dr. Amina Mohammed. Excellencies and other distinguished persons on this webinar, I would like to abide with all the protocols and courtesies that have been duly extended. It gives me great pleasure to be here this evening, whether this is evening over here, as we celebrate a true icon, Chief Anna Idowu Didiolu Awolowo. Mama was and is a legend in her own right, and fortunately, unlike many other political spouses, she will not go unsung. The wives of political leaders in Nigeria and elsewhere are often treated with suspicion and disdain. This is mostly because the track record of some political spouses has left a lot to be desired and has turned people against the idea of political spouses being visible. We have had many debates about the roles of political spouses over the years, the danger they present for democratic spaces through their so-called backdoor manipulations, their use of informal authority for personal gain, their lust for illegal power, and the drain they pose on taxpayers' resources. While some of these concerns might be valid, I would like to have a look at the other side of the story. I was asked by the organizers to share my thoughts as a political spouse and someone who has worked in international development for many years and has seen this view from different perspectives. So my remarks are going to be mainly based on the life of Mama as a political spouse and the lessons we can learn from that. The political spouse, over time, has to learn to become all things to all people. She is a mother to the family and the community, a prayer warrior, an advisor, a friend, a negotiator, a peacemaker, a hostess, ambassador, advocate, pace setter, role model, philanthropist. It is a long list. With all these expectations also comes the understanding that political spouses should be above board in all things. Mama H.I.D. Awolowo was the quintessential political spouse, and this has been emphasized by His Excellency the Vice President and Her Excellency Dr. Amina Mohammed. Mama performed all the roles expected of her with legendary grace, perseverance, fortitude, and unique wisdom. She also lived through unbearable tragedies. And her husband, while thinking about the contribution she had made to his political life and to the family, came up with this description that has stayed with us for so long and will continue to be with us, hopefully, from generation to generation. He described her as his jewel of inestimable value. In a society where women were not always given their due respect, at a time when gender issues were not on the agenda, Mama occupied political space in her own right as a leader, entrepreneur, political strategist, mobilizer, philanthropist, and inspiration to many. Here in Nigeria, we are sadly unable to allow our institutions to grow and learn. We prefer to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And so we do not allow for healthy and informed debates on the role of political spouses. We keep personalizing issues by focusing on individual shortcomings rather than taking a more holistic view of how partners do indeed add value to the political process. When it suits us, we use spouses to support political campaigns, governance initiatives, and philanthropic projects. When we are done with them, we expect them to disappear quietly to where they came from. So what can we learn from the life and times of Mama Awolowo as we talk about the role of women in building viable societies in difficult times? First of all, I believe we need a change of mindsets. Let us raise the level of this debate. If we have democratic processes that are inclusive enough, the issue of problematic spouses that keep being a reference point can be addressed in various ways. We should not conflate the issues to do with the importance of spouses on the political scene with the track record of unethical and unscrupulous persons operating in a context where there is no accountability. My next point is to do with the fact that we need to recognize first ladies as change agents. They should be encouraged to champion causes and to complement the efforts of the government at national, state, and local government level. Programs on women's empowerment, healthcare, education, drug abuse, youth empowerment, and economic empowerment can get a powerful boost from the efforts of political spouses. And many of us are also aware that a lot of political spouses are professionals in their own right and bring a lot of value to the table. Since this is the beginning of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, I'd like to remind us that it was the Nigerian Governors Spouses Forum that put pressure on the Nigerian Governors Forum to declare a state of emergency on sexual and gender-based violence in June 2020. And this work continues as we try to mitigate the impact of gender-based violence. First ladies should also be encouraged to support policy advocacy to ensure lasting change beyond individual projects. I would like to close by thanking God for Mama's life and to say that we are grateful for the example that she set for political spouses in our country. These are indeed difficult times, and we need the talent, commitment, and agency of everyone, particularly the spouses of our leaders. Political spouses can tell their husbands what no one else can say. They can hear what their husbands don't hear and have eyes where they do not see. We need to continue to have deeper conversations about the impact of Mama's legacy and use this as a roadmap for generations to come. And for political spouses who are with us on this call, and also for myself as a political spouse, I believe we need to continue to set an example. To whom much is given, much is expected. Empathy, compassion, solidarity, and modesty are all important during these times. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak, and may Mama Awolowo continue to be remembered for good. Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Excellency Erelu Bisifayemi, for those stirring words. It is my pleasure to invite to speak at this time Her Excellency Senator Abiodun Olujimi, who is a federal lawmaker representing Ekiti South Senatorial District in the National Assembly, Abuja, in the 8th and 9th Assembly. She was appointed the Deputy Minority Whip of the Senate and also appointed as the Minority Leader in 2018. She regained her Senate seat in 2019 and during her tenure chaired the Senate Aviation Committee. As an advocate for female representation in Nigeria's political party system, Senator Olujimi has adopted a progressive legislative agenda in the National Assembly and pushed for the inclusion of women in political party structures, caucuses, and campaign organizations. She famously sponsored several pieces of legislation, especially the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill. She serves as the second vice president in the ECOWAS Female Parliamentarians Association currently, and under this network has pushed for an increase in female representation beyond Nigeria to the sub-regions. Please welcome to the microphone Senator Abiodun Olujimi.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry we cannot see you, Senator Ma.
Well, the video is on.
We cannot see you.
Sorry, I think someone needs to reaccept me. Yeah, I think I'm on now.
Yes, so
Thank you very, very much. It's a great pleasure being on this platform, and I feel highly honored to be in the midst of so many iconic human beings. Your Excellency, the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, Your Excellency, Haji Amina Mohammed, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please let me stand on the established protocol. It's a great pleasure being here and speaking at a forum that epitomizes the woman, where every one of us can see a mirror image of ourselves in one woman who made a great impact in all our lives. This evening, I've been asked to speak on the sustainable strategies for women in challenging times such as we're in. And so I'll quickly go through because I only have a few minutes. When you talk about women, you're talking about extraordinary human beings. We're not normal people. We are beyond the normal because we do a lot of things at the same time, and we epitomize the best in the society. And I believe that to achieve sustainability, especially in these challenging times, we must learn a lot from global examples and tailoring solutions to Nigeria's unique realities. One, we must build economic resilience through inclusive policies. As you know, women are natural economists. We manage families and stretch resources, even in the toughest circumstances. To harness this strength, we need targeted economic policies. Government has to establish microfinance programs to rural women, supported by mobile technology for ease of access, like it's done in Rwanda and in Kenya. We must prioritize gender-responsive budget to direct resources towards education, healthcare, social initiatives, and to uplift our women. There is a need to invest in education and skills development because education is empowerment. Women are the first teachers, shaping generations through knowledge and values. A lot has been done in India, but in Nigeria, we must strengthen our educational system. We must expand the Self-Employed Women's Association. We must ensure that the education of girls is real and prepare them for high growth industries like in technology. We must encourage public-private partnerships to provide mentorship and internship for young women. Programs like Girls in STEM by Junior Achievement Nigeria demonstrate that efforts are not only possible, but scalable. We need to address socio-cultural barriers. Social norms can either uplift or confine women. Women are the quiet supporters and stoic listeners and the character molders of society. But when harmful stereotypes persist, these same strengths are undervalued. There is a need to intensify advocacy that enlists traditional and religious leaders as champions of women's rights. There is a need to reform laws and to address violence and discrimination against women in all ramifications. The Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill, which I sponsored, faced opposition in the 9th Senate, yet its importance cannot be overstated. While such measures may not offer immediate solutions, they are critical for laying a foundation of fairness and justice. We must leverage on technology and inclusion. Technology is a powerful tool for transformation, and Kenya has used it extremely well for women to access financial services and grow their businesses. Nigeria must also do so, especially in these trying times. In Nigeria, Platforms like She Trades are opening doors for women entrepreneurs like Chief Mrs. H.I.D. Apollo did. We must expand such initiatives and close the digital literacy gap to ensure that no woman, urban or rural, is left behind. Women in leadership must be supported. We can only bring strength and compassion and vision if we do that. They are deep thinkers, wise strategists, and drivers of progress. Their examples abound, especially on this platform today. However, quotas alone are not sufficient in our situation. We must mentor, sponsor, and create networks and nurture future leaders. For me, whenever I hear the name HID Awolowo, I get goose pimples because as a young girl, I was one of those who went in corners around our shop to watch good people, important people, go into the shop and do business. And we prayed that in the future we could always be like her. And it's a great pleasure now to see that we can see ourselves in her. She is an embodiment of what a woman should be. She is the embodiment of what women should be. And we have been able to see ourselves in her. The resilience, her can-do spirit, her nothing is impossible to achieve, the stoic silence, her gentle mien when she even faced inner turmoil and serious confusion. And most of all, standing behind her husband, standing behind the society, her family, and of course, God. I believe that there's a lot we can learn from that, and whichever way you look at it, that is empowerment. We can only empower each other by being who we are and supporting each other, supporting our families, supporting the society, our community, and making what we have in us last longer than it should be. Once again, I thank you for having me here. It's a great pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator Abiodun Oluchimi, for your very powerful words and recommendations. We really appreciate you very much. And you said something that resonates with many people. When we were younger, I used to think Papa Ola was a spirit. We never used to think he was a human being, actually. So he lives in all our hearts. Thank you very much for this honor to all of us. Let me also recognize Dr. Oboye Oyeyemi, former Minister of Aviation, Professor Akin Oshibogun, former Chief Medical Director, Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Excellency Adegbenga Sefiu Kaka, past Deputy Governor of Ogun State, Mrs. Fehimtola Mosadomi, Professor Nika Grange, former Minister of Health, Professor William Fawale, Pa Adebanjo, exemplary man, exemplary human being. At 95 years old, he's still attending virtual meeting. God bless you, Papa. You are most welcome. Our next panelist is Ada Osakwe, who is a sister of mine, a very a powerful voice in promoting SMEs, food, security, a lady who is going places for sure. She's the founder of AgroLay, a principal investment firm that has made angel investments in 16 early-stage high-growth companies. Ada was recently nominated to the board of the Nigerian Nigerian NSIA, as we call them. She was an advisor to Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, Nigeria's former Minister of Agriculture, and he still works with the bank, doing great things with the bank on a program we call Youth Empowerment in Agriculture. And I believe she has also been helping with the Youth Entrepreneurial Investment Bank that the bank is putting forward. Ada has received several awards, and she received BSc First Class in Economics from University of Hull in the UK. and has been all over the place. At the CNN, she was on Richard Quest, I believe, during COVID. They were very proud of her. She's been on CNBC, on Foreign Policy, Brookings Institute, and she was probably the youngest person to speak as a convocation speaker for the Kellogg School of Management graduation in 2020. I welcome Ada to this panel, and we are here to listen to your remarks.
Well, thank you so much for that kind introduction. I'm very honored, honored for this invitation to this wonderful convening. His Excellency Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON. Greetings to you, Her Excellency Senator Daisy Danjuma, our chair. Greetings to you, Ma. Your Excellency Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed. Always an inspiration. You continue to be a shining light in my career, a North Star, I would say. Greetings to you as well. I stand on all existing protocols. Prof, today the organizers have asked me to hone into the conversation around economy and entrepreneurship. And so I'll just focus my conversation and remarks on that. When we speak about the economy, everyone's face goes down. It's a gloomy situation right now, especially for entrepreneurs. High inflation rates, that's crippling the economy, that's feeding into so many things. Cost of food, cost of transportation, just everything. It's a hard time. And in simple terms, when we think about that, an interesting statistic I saw was that in 1960, when we had our independence, only 15% of the population lived in poverty, and today about over 63% of Nigerians are trapped in economic hardship. So, you just ask yourself what's happening, and I just say that there's a lot of pain, but there should be a shining light at the end of it. But for that growth to happen, for the poverty to be alleviated, we need jobs, and jobs are really critical for any economy. Employment is so critical. Right now, there are over 30 million Nigerian youth, young people who are currently active in our labor market. The majority of them, unfortunately, are unemployed. So they are potentially employable, but they are currently unemployed. There are no jobs. If not, they are significantly underemployed, or mostly having to work in the informal sector. And according to African Development Bank, the Nigerian economy must generate about 6.5 million jobs annually over the next 20 years to fill the gap we have in the employment market. And that's really from new entrants coming to the labor market. And it's really a risk if we're thinking of the young people that have to be accommodated. So what's happening is that many people have to turn to self-employment, and that's what we call entrepreneurship in many regards. It's still one of the biggest options that Nigerians have to turn to, especially our youth. Nigerian youth have a very strong entrepreneurial spirit, and in many ways it's seen as a shining light for our economy. 99% of our enterprises are micro, small, and medium enterprises. That's millions and millions of jobs they are creating, and it's contributing significantly to our gross domestic product. And then we talk about startups. Many people get excited about, the flutter waves, the pay stacks, the stories we hear of multi-million-dollar acquisitions here and there. They are driving a lot of digital innovation. They're driving financial inclusion. They're solving really hard problems, many of them societal issues, and they're using technology and the digital economy to drive that. And ultimately, as we think about this, at the end of the day, entrepreneurship still has its limitations. Finance continues to be a big problem when people want to go into entrepreneurship. And, it's significant for the economy to be an entrepreneur, but why is it that there are still so many constraints that are holding people back? So yes, now I want this job, but then it's so difficult. Poor infrastructure, no light, multiple taxes, lack of labor
But financing continues to be one of the biggest things that people or entrepreneurs in most surveys, and I can speak for myself, have to deal with. But ultimately, it's been a very challenging year for entrepreneurs in general. The recent report just released last week by Faith Foundation, they showed that there were less businesses being born in Nigeria. This is a fantastic survey. It looks at over 10,000 entrepreneurs across all 36 states of Nigeria, and it shows that only 24% business birth rate happened this past year versus 30% last year. So fewer jobs are being created, there are lower levels of skills adoption, there's a local currency depreciation. I mentioned high inflation before as well. But specifically, if you then go deeper, what's really troubling for me is that women continue to have difficulty in general accessing funding and the challenging situation for entrepreneurship. 52% of women-led firms identify access to finance as their own major constraints to growth. I've seen data that shows women are 6 times less likely to get funding for their businesses, to grow their businesses, than a man. I've seen it in the agriculture sector that I operate in as well. So ultimately, most women are forced to run businesses that are in the informal sector. Look at that quote on the right. This is a young woman that I invested in her business back in 2014. I met her when I was a senior advisor to the Minister of Agriculture, Adeshina, and I put my personal money in her business because I wanted to see her do more value creation in the ag sector. But she's saying here how she had to rely on family and friends, and it took her 9 years to raise institutional capital from any bank or any private equity fund. So there really is a missing gap for those growth entrepreneurs, especially women, who need the funding or else they will die. So ultimately, there's a lack of formalization in general because these women have to tend to be in the informal sector. And this really is across the board. It's not just a woman issue. The challenge is that entrepreneurship is self-employment, mostly in the informal sector. And so it's very vulnerable. And when it's vulnerable, it means that it's reflected in low productivity, low earnings, and ultimately very difficult working conditions. So formalization is very key. We have to formalize our businesses. The banks say that's why they don't fund. They'll say businesses have not been registered, they couldn't do this, they couldn't do that. They need training, they need support. So to promote this access to finance, we need to encourage the establishment of, I think Senator spoke about it earlier, government-backed schemes, grants that are very intentional and targeted at women entrepreneurs to reduce the barriers to entry for them. We need to launch female-funded programs, micro grants, low-interest loans, give them seed capital. I have done that, doing it myself with my own money, just trying to back women in a very intentional way, women entrepreneurs. It's also very important to expand guarantee funds so that banks can do more. Capacity building, education, funding entrepreneurial training programs is important. And someone I know mentioned, encouraging partnerships with educational institutions. How do we start putting entrepreneurial education into our core curriculum in school as well? So as I conclude, I just want to say that, as a female business owner, I've also encountered my own stumbling blocks, everything from the government demolition of my store. And today we are standing. We currently have multiple stores, 6 locations across Lagos of our farm to table restaurants, and this is after 7 years of ups and downs. So there is hope, and women continue to be so resilient. So we don't see these challenges as barriers, but it's really a time to rise, as was mentioned earlier by Dr. Awolowo Dosumu. You said, a time to rise, a time to innovate, and a time to persevere. So thank you so much. We must all pay it forward. We must do our own part to mentor each other, to connect women entrepreneurs to your network, open markets for them, be kind in many ways, and share. Thank you for this opportunity to speak, and happy posthumous birthday to Mama. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Adal Sakwe, for sharing your experience and insights about how to open the door and the way to advance women's entrepreneurship. Very important. We are grateful. Please remember to send your questions ahead to the email that's displayed on the screen. I will, at this time, recognize and invite the fourth panelist for this wondrous occasion, Professor Olufumi Layo J. Paramalam, who will be speaking to us next. Professor Paramalam, MNI, MIOD, FCPA, is Director of Studies and the only female member of management at the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies. Where she has been on staff since March, Management Studies from the UK. Economic and gender center is
yes, and of course, guys, I think that we have to end today's special program on Mama HID Awolowo, and don't forget, join me in the next hour or so, in the next hour for the second part of Sensational Nigeria, Painful Resentment. So let's bring this particular special program on Mama HID Awolowo's foundation to a close, and in the next hour or so we will reconvene and we will go into the very next part of our show. Until that time, that's 9 o'clock Central West African Time Zone and 8 o'clock UK and Europe. I'll see you in the next hour. Thanks for watching this, and God bless you. Goodbye.
NuMedia TV. Beyond the headlines. News in its purest form. If you have enjoyed this video or any of our podcasts or live streams, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, share it, and subscribe for more content like this. We make information simple. Your experience matters to us. Liberty Media Communications. Live stream with confidence. Fewness of words. Greatness of deeds. We empower people around the world to stand up for their social or ethical principles of freedom or entitlement. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. See you in our next video or live stream.